The Obama administration touting what it calls a surge in sign-ups. Obamacare enrollment passing the 1 million mark, but that falls far short of the administration's goal of signing up 3.3 million by the end of the year, tomorrow. And now, Democratic Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton offering a new excuse for the low numbers. She says that House Republicans have convinced millions of Americans that Obamacare was repealed. Charles Krauthammer is here. He's the author of the New York Times bestseller, Things That Matter. Charles, it's quite an amazing trick to meet only 26% of your goal and still to be able to call it a major success.
Well, considering where they started from, which is 0% of their goal. But it's rather comical how Democrats sort of are desperate to find a way to blame the failure of the website and all the cancellations and all the disasters around Obamacare and inside of Obamacare on the Republicans, who, if anything, have the cleanest of hands, having opposed it from day one, having made the arguments way back 2-3 years ago on exactly why it would go wrong in precisely the way it has. It's a bit sad, I think. Democrats ought to be able to come up with a slightly better story. Blame it on the tsunami, maybe, or global warming.
One of the things, I think it was a poll about a month ago that during the Obamacare website major confusion at the beginning, there was a report that said a lot of people thought that Obamacare had already been repealed. Do you think that that was just the triumph of hope over experience?
No, I don't think anybody took it seriously. If anybody's been involved or watching the news, hearing the news even peripherally since the beginning of October, the only story has been the disaster. Presidents on TV all the time talking about it, making up excuses. If anybody hears about Obamacare, it's about why it's not working. There might be people living in the woods who haven't heard about anything, but that it was repealed, I think, is a pretty far-fetched.
Do you think that Obamacare as a story will continue into the new year and into 2014? Will we just continue to talk about this because of all the new developments?
And the reason it will, and the answer is absolutely yes, because it's not an abstraction, it's not an ideological issue. It's a real thing, and health care is about the only issue there is that affects everyone right now. You talk about Social Security, it doesn't affect people under the age of 65. I mean, there are all kinds of programs that affect parts of the population. There is nothing that intrudes into your life as much as health care, and there's nobody who's exempt from from what Obamacare is going to do. The story of the year is going to be the tens of millions of Americans who, as we get to the middle and the end of the year, are going to realize that they're going to lose their insurance that are now provided by their employers. And if you thought that we had problems when the private insurance was canceled, wait until that happens.
If I could just get your thoughts on one last story before I let you go. The other one we've been talking about today is Benghazi. Do you think that that story that has dominated a lot of 2013, do you think that has any staying power in 2014 as a story, or do you think that fades away?
Well, the only reason it has faded in the past and will again is because the mainstream media have no interest in it, understand that it would cast a pretty dark light on the administration, the way it conducted itself, and are staying away. I think it is a real story. It is revived temporarily, but I'm afraid that it will die again of neglect.
All right, Charles, thank you so much and Happy New Year.
Pleasure.
And thank you for being with us. I'll see you again tomorrow for a special New Year's Eve edition of The Five. That's tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Good night.